powerful earthquake has just struck Western Colombia, sending people running out of buildings and causing serious damage across several parts of the country. The earthquake was measured at about 7.4 magnitude, and the shaking was felt far beyond the area where it began. Buildings have been damaged, people have been injured, and emergency crews are now assessing the destruction. But what exactly happened? Where was the earthquake strongest? And why did an earthquake hundreds of kilometers from Colombia's capital cause people in major cities to run into the streets? Here's what we know so far. The earthquake struck on Monday, August 10, 2026, in Western Colombia. The epicenter was near San Jose del Palmar, in the department of Chocó. The area is roughly 250 kilometers west of Bogotá, but the earthquake wasn't felt only near the epicenter. People in cities including Cali, Pereira, Quibdó, and Manizales reported strong shaking. The tremor was also felt outside Colombia, including in neighboring Ecuador. In Bogotá, people evacuated buildings as the shaking began, with alarms sounding in some areas. For many people, the first warning wasn't an official announcement. It was the building around them suddenly moving. As reports began coming in, authorities started finding damage in several locations. In Cali, multiple buildings were reported damaged, with some people trapped inside structures. In Quibdó, officials reported injuries and serious structural damage. And in Manizales, part of a cathedral tower collapsed during the earthquake. At least 2 deaths had been reported in early official and news reports. But because this is still a developing disaster, that number could change as rescue teams reach affected areas. That is one of the difficult things about major earthquakes. The first reports rarely tell the whole story. Communications can be disrupted, roads can become blocked, buildings need to be searched, and people who may be trapped can take hours to reach. So emergency officials are now working to determine the full scale of the damage. So why did this earthquake happen? An earthquake occurs when stress that is built up inside the Earth's crust is suddenly released. The Earth's surface isn't one solid, motionless piece. It is divided into enormous sections called tectonic plates. These plates are constantly moving, although usually so slowly that we don't notice. Where those plates interact, enormous amounts of stress can build up underground. Eventually, rocks can suddenly slip along a fault. That sudden movement releases energy, and that energy travels through the Earth as seismic waves. When those waves reach the surface, we experience them as an earthquake. A magnitude of 7.4 is considered a major earthquake. And because the amount of energy released increases dramatically as magnitude increases, a difference of just one whole magnitude represents a much larger earthquake, not simply one that is slightly stronger. But here's something important. A magnitude number doesn't tell you exactly how much damage will happen. 2 earthquakes with similar magnitudes can produce very different results. Why? Because several things matter. How deep the earthquake occurs, how close populated areas are to the epicenter, the type of soil beneath buildings, and how well those buildings are designed to withstand shaking. That helps explain why one city can experience frightening shaking, while another location much farther away experiences comparatively little damage. In Colombia, authorities are now examining affected buildings and infrastructure to determine where the greatest risks remain. And they're also watching for aftershocks. After a major earthquake, the danger doesn't necessarily end when the ground stops shaking. Aftershocks can happen. Some can be strong enough to damage structures that were already weakened by the first earthquake. That's why authorities may restrict access to damaged buildings while engineers inspect them. Rescue teams also have to work carefully around unstable structures, and the situation can change quickly as more information becomes available. At this point, officials are still assessing the full extent of the disaster. What happened in Colombia today is a reminder of just how quickly an ordinary morning can turn into an emergency. A few seconds of movement underground can affect thousands of people, damage buildings, and completely change communities. And because this earthquake happened only hours ago, the full picture is still developing. We'll likely learn more about the damage, casualties, and rescue efforts as authorities continue their assessment. For now, the priority is finding those who may still need help and making sure people stay away from structures that may no longer be safe. This is what we know so far about Colombia's powerful 7.4 earthquake.